All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis, the show that is back in football season, the place where we all know that we belong. All those other sports, they're just filler for football season, baby. We are here, we are back, and it's not going to get old until we're about probably like 4 weeks into the season. We're just fully in the swing of things. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I had a kid at the checkout today while I was just restocking some bananas, doing my produce and thing over at the self checkout. There was a kid, looked too old to be riding in a cart, but was riding in a cart, looked over me at me and said, "You know what? You got big titties. You look like you work out. That's a compliment. You look great in that shirt you got on right now." And you know what? I'm buzzing off of that. I am absolutely buzzing off of that. I don't even know if the kid meant it or he was messing with me, but I'll tell you what, it felt good. Felt good to know that I got big titties and look like I work out, because I do. I do work out here from time to time, at least over the past month or so. Who's counting anyways? Who's counting anyways? Either way though, enough about my big titties. Let's talk about some football, shall we? We have got the NFL Week 1 full slate of games, and you know what? To start this thing out, we should probably start at the end of the week, so let's just get into it, shall we? And storming out of the gates here, we have got the Buffalo Bills traveling to MetLife to play the New York Jets, a game that is famously on Monday night, September 11th, not September 10th, like I said last week, because I am sometimes an idiot. Either way, though, before we even get into the results of the game, 4 plays into the game, a mere 4 plays into the game. I'm talking about, Aaron Rodgers, the whole world watching, if you will, on 9/11, a big night in New York. Obviously, he runs out of the tunnel ahead of everyone else, holding the American flag, having it fly behind him, running out there, stadium going wild, dapping up Kevin from The Office, dapping up Jake Paul beforehand, everything going the Jets fans' way. Their dreams had come true on the field before their eyes. They've got a quarterback. That's all they needed for this team to be successful. 4 plays in, and his foot gets stuck in the turf. There's a guy on top of his back, and he tears his Achilles. And yup, that's pretty much it. The Jets season's not over, but you got the GOAT, Zach Wilson, coming in there. He threw an interception that looked like just vintage, absolutely vintage Zach Wilson. He's not learned a thing. He probably ran 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage 3 or 4 times in this game, doing plays where I was just asking myself, what the hell are you doing at the end of this? But yeah, that Aaron Rodgers season is done. They got to figure out what to do at quarterback now, and I'll tell you what, it is absolutely unfortunate that Aaron Rodgers is out. Out for the season, that is. I was really looking forward to seeing what this team could do with him at the helm, because, the defense, you saw it against the Bills. They are absolutely filthy disgusting. They got maybe the best corner in the entire league in Sauce Gardner. DJ Reed had an interception. I think he had an interception. If he didn't have an interception, he did have some good pass deflections in this one. The defense was playing out of their minds. They were killing Josh Allen all night. The offensive weapons, Allen Lazard looked good. He led the team in receiving. Garrett Wilson had probably the most insane touchdown catch I've seen in my entire life. If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to go look it up, because, like I said, it is maybe the best catch that I've ever seen in my entire life. What the hell was that? My laptop is singing at me. I gotta find that ad where it's playing. There it is. That's the one problem of opening up the ESPN website on my laptop here. They got ads kind of playing that would not be playing on my phone. Not in mid-season form yet. My bad, guys. My bad. Where was I at, though? Oh, yes. Aaron Rodgers. He's done for the season. Absolutely crushing for the Jets fans, crushing for football fans. It's sad to see, but at the same time, if we can take a 10,000 foot perspective, obviously feel sympathy for Aaron Rodgers in this whole thing. You hate to see that, especially at age 39. He may never play football again. Now, do I think he's going to go out like that? Absolutely not. I don't think he wants to go out like that, and I think he's going to, work his ass off to get back in the lineup next season, which will most likely be either his last year or his second to last year. Either way, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be back, but it sucks that he tore his Achilles like that so early in the season. However, is this not the most Jets way for this all to have played out? To have your dreams, I mean, right in front of you. You can taste it. You can feel that this team is about to turn a corner and about to maybe go on a championship run, if you will. You can feel it in the stadium. The hope is palpable. It's been there all off season. You saw it. You got to get built up in that hard knocks throughout the preseason. You saw Aaron Rodgers taking command on the field all throughout that hard knocks. You were pumped to see how this season went, and then it's just ripped right out from under you on the first possession, 4 plays in to the first possession of the entire season. It's just gone. Hopes evaporated just like that. I mean, this is the most cursed Jets way for it to have gone. I mean, it is the butt fumble of injuries. I'll say that right there. Not hilarious that he got hurt, but you look at a 10,000-foot perspective and take a long look at the situation. Yes, you hate to see a player get injured, but this is hilarious. I mean, this is maybe the most Jets way it could have possibly gone. I'm not sure there is a more fitting way for this to have gone, given that it was the New York Jets that it happened to. I mean, almost beautiful in a tragic way. I mean, tragedy can be beautiful in the dramatic sense. I'm taking that approach in this one. What a way for what a scene. What a way for this to have gone. At this point, I think everyone's wondering, what do they do at quarterback? Do you roll with Zach Wilson? That would be the popular I mean, I don't know about popular, but he's the guy that's been in the building, knows the system already. You don't got to teach him anything new. Counterpoint, though, he stinks. He was bad last season. He was supposedly developing behind Aaron Rodgers, but he didn't really get a full season to do that. So you look over at what he did last night. Yes, he threw 14 for 21, but you could see the way that they ran that offense, and that 14 for 21 was essentially the whole game. They threw the ball 21 times, and you could essentially see, just by the way they were calling it, one, they had no faith in Zach Wilson to get the ball down the field and take care of the football, just based on the way that they ran the ball over and over and over again in this one. They ran the ball 28 times, threw the ball 21 times, over half the time they were running it there. Not only that, though, when he actually did throw the ball, one, he had an interception that was clear as day. And like I said earlier, there were times where he didn't throw an interception, where he ran like 20, 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He definitely didn't know what he was doing. He was just running until he could figure out what he was going to do, and then eventually just threw an incompletion. A lot of times he was like throwing to a receiver when he was almost going out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. He looked bad. He looked like the exact same player he's been since he came into the league. I think we can probably safely say he's a bust if we hadn't already been safely saying that. With that in mind, though, who do you go out and get? I mean, the free agent class right now, quarterbacks, is sad to say the least. There's a reason these guys aren't on a roster. I mean, it's Carson Wentz, it's Matt Ryan. You got a retired Phillip Rivers out there. You got a retired Ben Roethlisberger. Tom Brady's an interesting one. And if Tom Brady has an opportunity to do one of the funniest things in sports history, if he suits it up, comes back from retirement to play for the Jets and takes the Jets to a Super Bowl, that would be hilarious. That would objectively be the most hilarious thing of all time. Not just because it is his former rival within the division, also because the Patriots would have to watch from across the way. Robert Kraft would be sitting over there on his gilded couch watching his 100-inch TV as the Jets hoisted the Super Bowl with the greatest player in his franchise's history quarterbacking that team. That would be hilarious. I would love to see that. He also is a part owner of the Raiders, though, and I'm not sure about conflicts of interest. Also, he is 45 and seems to be semi-happily retired at this point. So I don't think Brady's going to come back, but that would be the most hilarious option. Most realistic option at this point is probably roll with Zach Wilson for a couple weeks while you try and trade for one of the higher-priced backups throughout the league. And I was just kind of listening to a list of a couple on Mina Kimes' show, her podcast there. And there was some good names thrown in there. I mean, the one that pops off like right out of the gate in my mind, Andy Dalton. If you can find a way to pry him out of Carolina, and I don't think they will, because I think they probably value having that veteran presence in the quarterback room, kind of helping to guide and mold Bryce Young over there. So I don't think they'll probably pull the trigger on that one. But if you can somehow find a way to get Andy Dalton in the building, that is the guy you need to go after. Because, I mean, he played downright serviceable last season. He's been downright serviceable for his entire career. And with the team that is around that quarterback position, all you need is average. You don't even necessarily need above average to be a playoff contender and still be a Super Bowl contender because the defense is fantastic. I mean, I didn't even talk about Breece Hall. He had 10 carries for 120 yards. He had an 127 yards, had an 83-yard run in this one. And I'll tell you, he doesn't even look full speed. He wasn't pulling away from the defense. He got caught from behind, which when he's fully healthy, no one's catching Breece Hall from behind. He's a legit 4.3 type of speed guy. And even without that top-end speed that he had before the ACL injury, and he'll get that back eventually, but even without that, you could just see the vision. He's making more yards than he really has any right to be getting on a lot of these plays just by his ability to pick through traffic and get more yards than he's expected to. I mean, I absolutely love what I saw from Breece Hall. And you got the receivers out there. I mean, Lazard, Wilson, there's a lot of other players out there. I mean, Randall Cobb is there. That's a security blanket, if you will. Tyler Conklin's a solid tight end there. I mean, you got weapons all over the field over there. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. You got to kind of work around the QB play, but everything is in place outside of the quarterback to win for the New York Jets. If you can somehow find a way to get Andy Dalton in the building, I think that would still legitimately make them Super Bowl contenders this year. Outside of Andy Dalton, though, there's Jameis Winston over with the Saints. You got Teddy Bridgewater on the bench for the Lions right now. Taylor Heineke's down in Atlanta. Maybe if you want to get that one, that might be the most available one, but I think they probably are not overly sold with Desmond Ridder after week one, so you want to keep him in the back pocket just in case you got to go to a guy with a little bit more moxie at quarterback. In Washington, they've got Jacoby Brissett, but kind of same thing. I mean, Sam Howell looked okay in week one, but Jacoby Brissett, I think you probably still keep him around for a little bit just as an insurance policy, but either Jacoby Brissett or Andy Dalton would be really good in this situation, I think, right? Even Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis, I mean, any of those guys I just mentioned, you could get him on that team and still be at the very least a playoff contender and go from there. For my money, though, it's either Jacoby Brissett or Andy Dalton that needs to be considered if you're trying to trade for a quarterback, which I think is probably the best option right now. Use some mid-round draft capital and go get a guy out in the on the market because Zach Wilson simply ain't it. You cannot keep rolling with Zach Wilson right now. It's just not a tenable position to be in. And they got a tough schedule up ahead, man. I think they play the Cowboys next week. They play the Chiefs the week after that, and it just keeps going on and on and on. They're in probably the toughest division in all of football right now. The margin for error is slim in the AFC East, and I think they just quickly, by the virtue of losing Aaron Rodgers, slipped down to last in that division behind the Patriots at this point as far as odds of making it as the division champion in this one. You got to get a quarterback in there. How you do it is probably, I mean, it's up to them at this point, but if it were up to me, I would make a concerted effort to go after either Andy Dalton or Jacoby Brissett at this point. Who's to say what happens, though? Wild situation, probably the most Jets way for it all to have turned out. But there was also a game that happened after that first four plays, and I'll tell you what, Josh Allen looked bad. He looked really, really bad. He came out, was an absolute wild man the whole game. I mean, just the very first interception. Also, by the way, I think he threw 3 interceptions in this one. Yeah, 3 interceptions. All of them were to Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead had all 3 interceptions. Had a $250,000 bonus riding on it if he got 3 interceptions throughout the course of the season. Cash in on that on night 1 of the season. Time to go fucking party, man. You just made yourself a whole hell of a lot of money. Maybe go buy yourself a new house in a lower sort of tax bracket area, if you will. I mean, live it up, man. You are living the life at this point. But Josh Allen, I mean, under 6 yards per attempt, and was tossing it down the field. It was not for a lack of effort. That's just how good the Jets defense played. And I mean, they kind of let Josh Allen fall into his usual sort of tendencies. I think they just kind of let him sat back there in coverage, didn't let anything come open easy, just let him sit back there and do what he did. And I'll tell you what, and back to my point when I was talking about that first interception, Josh Allen, it was like a 3rd and 8. He was running over to the left side of the field, throws all the way back over to the right, like towards the end zone, basically an arm punt. I threw like 70 yards in the air pretty much. He could have very easily run for the first down on that one, or thrown to Dawson Knox, who was like 10 yards away. He did not have to throw that interception, and he just did it anyways. There was a different time where I think he ran for it on 3rd down, and I don't know what he was doing. He just like jumped up in the air 5 yards short of the first down. Like you could say he was diving for it, but he fell a full like 4 yards short. Don't know what that was, but that was just Josh being Josh at that point. It did not look great for Josh Allen last night, and I don't want to overreact to it because he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year, and the year before that as well. He played badly against the Jets last year too, so I'm not really putting too much into this, but it was not a good night for Josh Allen. I mean, the running game was, average, pedestrian at best. James Cook had a couple good runs, but Josh Allen once again was the guy that was the best rusher on the team. They failed to rush for 100 yards as a team, while meanwhile on the other side, the New York Jets ran for 172 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, and that was without a quarterback that you really trusted to get the ball down the field for the entire time. So, the Bills left something to be desired in the rushing category. Stephon Diggs did have a hell of a game. 10 receptions, 102 yards. Ended up getting this thing to overtime though. That was the big shocker. They should have absolutely, after Aaron Rodgers went down, if Josh Allen just takes care of the ball, they probably run away with this thing and win by double digits. But since Josh Allen was throwing it away, the Jets actually took the lead in the 4th quarter. They were up 16-13, and the Bills had to drive down and get the tying field goal, which they did because Josh Allen, he is that type of quarterback where he can just turn it on, and he's got a receiver that he can go to like Stephon Diggs. At this point, they've got such good chemistry that at will they can get that drive on the board and down the field so they can kick that field goal. But they get into overtime, have to punt on the first possession to the Bills. Lo and behold, Xavier Gibson is just sitting back there, catches the punt, makes a move or two, and then all of a sudden he's got daylight. He's going down the sidelines. Zach Martin does the most hilarious attempted tackle. You could call it an attempt. He basically just jumped backwards and tried to push Xavier Gibson down on the ground. Hilarious. You absolutely can't have that. Just dive at his knees. You don't have to make it a good tackle attempt. You have to actually attempt. You can't just jump backwards and push. That's not something you can be doing at that point. John Perry, I'm sick of his ass always, one, defending the refs, and two, just confidently having, smart ass isn't the right word, but kind of hoity-toity officiating opinions. There was a tripping on that return. Shut up, John. Shut up, John. And if you say an asterisk, I'm not going to punch you in the face. That's not going to happen. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm not going to sit here and fight you about a sport here, but it's a dumb opinion. I could get there was a little bit of something there where maybe you could call a trip, but he didn't try to trip him. He tried to get a block on him and missed with his body, got his legs in the way pretty much. I don't think he got his legs in the way on purpose either. It just ended up working out that way. That would have been a ticky-tack call if in fact it was called. And even if they did call that, you're already in field goal range when that penalty occurs. And I'm not really so much into thinking that would have made a difference. I do think having Xavier Gibson win the game like that was an absolutely electric way to end it off. But everyone pretty much forgot how the game went because, the hopes and dreams of the team died in the very first possession of the game. So it was an electric win. might be the last one they get for a few weeks here, but watch out for that trade at QB. I think they'll. I don't know about probably, but I think they should make a trade for one of these high end backups in the league because the team is just too good to not at least give it an attempt with a better quarterback in there. Zach Wilson simply is not it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Sucks that Aaron Rodgers won't be there, but like I said, maybe the most Jets way possible for it all to have unfolded. And with that, let's get into the rest of the games here. What are we? A brisk 20 minutes into the podcast. I spent a lot of time on that, but so is everyone else. So who am I kidding there? Let's just go chronologically after that one. We got the Detroit Lions coming out and shocking the Chiefs. That's the one. They shocked the Chiefs right out of the gate there. Chris Jones was not playing. He, by the way, signed a 1-year augmented contract throughout the course of this week, so he will be back for week 2. So no worries there. In this one, though, they didn't need him for most of the game. I mean, the Lions ended up rushing like 3.5 yards per carry, so they didn't necessarily need him for the most part. But when they did need him on that very last Detroit Lions possession where they just ran it over and over and over, and the Chiefs just couldn't stop him, that's what lost them the game pretty much because the Lions just ran out the clock pretty much with that. And if Chris Jones was in there, I think they force a 3-and-out and get the ball back for Patrick Mahomes to do his Patrick Mahomes thing, and then maybe they drive down for a field goal and win this thing. Who's to even say? But I think that final possession alone kind of tipped the scales and be like, all right, we're not going to get a long-term deal done, I don't think, but let's just do a 1-year stopgap and just make this thing work right now. They did that. Chris Jones will be back in there, but I don't want to harp on it too much because it's been beaten to death at this point. My God, it happened a week ago from the day that this is coming out, so not really much to talk about there. But not really much to talk about that hasn't already been talked about. But to harp on it one more time, the Kansas City Chiefs receivers were terrible. I mean, they were absolutely terrible. If Patrick Mahomes had just one single receiver that stepped up to the plate and made a bunch of plays, it would have been a different night. But the leading receptions getter was Isaiah Pacheco with 4 receptions. Noah Gray and Rashee Rice were tied at third for second on the team, or tied with 3 for second on the team. And outside of that, I mean, Kadarius Toney had an absolutely terrible night, both on Twitter with Giants fans continuing to just assail him with insults, which is always kind of hilarious to watch from afar, but I'm sure it's not the most fun thing to endure if you're Kadarius Toney. And on the field, he dropped 3 or 4 passes that were legitimately could have been caught, could have been big gains, could have been first downs at various points. Just coughed up the. I mean, he wasn't the only one that dropped passes, but the most notable one out there to drop passes. What they needed was Travis Kelce, but Travis Kelce was out in this one with a bone bruise in his knee. And without Travis Kelce in there, they got basically nothing. I mean, Marquez Valdes-Scantling had a couple big receptions, if you will. Wasn't consistent in this one. Justin Watson, same thing. Had a couple big catches, but wasn't there consistently. It was just a bunch of guys, I mean, throwing to... What he didn't throw to Sky Moore basically the entire game. Then they throw to Sky Moore at the end. Basically a miracle pass on like 4th and 25 or something like that. Mahomes basically hits Sky Moore on the hands, and Sky Moore just drops it. Basically game over at that point because the Lions just ran out the clock from there. But injuries were the story of this game for the Chiefs. I think if they had Travis Kelce and they had Chris Jones, specifically if they just had Chris Jones, I think they probably could have won this even with the bad receiver play. But not having Travis Kelce in there, you could really see just how weak the receiving core is for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think a lot of people view it like Pat Mahomes, similar to Aaron Rodgers over the years, and Tom Brady with the Patriots. Where if you just put like any Tom, Dick, and Harry around there, just like put me out there, for instance, bad shoulders and all, I could probably catch 8 balls on any given night and maybe score a touchdown in there, just because that's how brilliant Patrick Mahomes is. simply wasn't like that on Thursday night. It just was not to be, and they gotta figure some things out there, and it's not things that you can figure out throughout the course of this year. So maybe the Chiefs are looking a little bit vulnerable this year. Maybe next year they go into the first round and maybe draft a wide receiver or something like that, or pick one up in free agency. It's going to be interesting to see throughout the course of the season. One, who steps up outside of Travis Kelce, and two, how they fared when it gets later in the season. Is this Chiefs team, just by virtue of having Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones out there, just a championship shoe-in no matter what? I don't think so this year. I think it might be a little bit interesting just based on the weakness of that wide receiver core on the whole. But if you have Travis Kelce in there, it's all water under the bridge, baby. But on the Lions side, this was an impressive win. It was a gutsy win. I mean, they had good play across the board. Jared Goff wasn't spectacular, but he was good enough to win. David Montgomery, his poor knees are probably killing him today. I mean, they should probably give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs more, not just because he's electric, but because, like, David Montgomery's going to implode if you keep giving him 21 carries at 3.5 yards per carry. But also, I mean, you drafted in like 12 overall. You got to do it at some point, right? I think they'll probably transition to him being more of the starter as the season goes on. But it was great for the Detroit Lions. I think it showed right out of the gates that this is a team that may be the cream of the crop in the NFC North this season, and looking forward to seeing what they do throughout the course of this season going forward. I think they showed some real guts in this one, going on the road to the championship banner raising ceremony in Kansas City and just spoiling the party. I think you love to see that. From a grit perspective, Dan Campbell's got the boys playing over there in Detroit. What am I looking at right now? What am I looking at as far as time is concerned? We got 27 minutes in. Yeah, we'll just keep it moving from there. Starting off with the 1 o'clock games now. We got Houston at Baltimore. Houston got absolutely waxed 25-29, or 25-9 rather, excuse me. Lamar Jackson was, I mean, mostly efficient, did have an interception, but went 17-22, 7.7 yards per attempt. Didn't really need him to be ultra efficient because they scored a bunch of touchdowns on the ground. Lamar Jackson went 6.3 yards per carry on the ground. J.K. Dobbins, by the way, worth noting, he did tear his Achilles in this one. That seems to be a bug that's going around there in week 1, but he'll be out for the season, and that one actually might be a career ender. Not for lack of effort from J.K. Dobbins' part, just because I think he had a big ACL injury that he was coming back from last season, or like a big knee surgery, something or other. He's coming back from last season. Has a major Achilles injury this season. Tried to get a contract extension done before this season started, just because it was one of those things where he's going to be a free agent next off season. But with that in mind, coming off an Achilles injury, he might be waiting for a while, and I'm not sure there's going to be a whole lot of takers to take a flyer on him after just coming off an Achilles injury. Brutal for J.K. Dobbins, but overall, Ravens take care of business. They didn't look awesome, but one player that did look awesome is Zay Flowers. I mean, 9 receptions, 78 yards. He looks like he is everything as advertised. Odell Beckham Jr. was quiet, but 18.5 yards per catch in this one. I think you got to be encouraged with what you saw there. And, I mean, C.J. Stroud, he had a fumble that he lost, but you got to get that cleaned up. But that'll happen from time to time, especially playing on a not a terrible team, but a bad team nonetheless. Not a playoff team, that's for sure. All in all, though, didn't throw a touchdown, didn't throw an interception, 5.5 yards per attempt. It looked like a rookie in his first start in the NFL. Leaned fairly heavily on Nico Collins. He went 6 receptions, 80 yards. Robert Woods had a solid day at 6 receptions, 57 yards. And then, Tank Dell was there as well with three catches, 34 yards. I mean, it was not a great day for the Houston Texans, but at the very least, C.J. Stroud did not look Zach Wilson-esque. That's the main thing. He got sacked 5 times, which you don't love to see, but at the same time, he didn't absolutely tank the team. It was just Baltimore being head and shoulders better than what the Houston Texans are at the end of the day. You gotta be at the very least optimistic with what you saw from C.J. Stroud if you are a Houston Texans fan. You aren't over the moon because it wasn't a spectacular day, but you're not really through the floor either. I think you're somewhere in the middle, be like, okay, maybe we can get this thing going at some point with CJ Stroud. Week 1 is hard for basically any guy in there, but let's keep it moving because we only have so much time and we got to get to next week's games as well. So Cincinnati got blown off the field by the Cleveland Browns 24-3. That Cleveland Browns defense under Jim Schwartz looks elite. I mean, Myles Garrett was lining up over the center, just doing air crossovers. Hopefully he's not relapsed in playing basketball again. I think the Cleveland Browns put the kibosh on that a few off seasons ago when he was dunking on equipment trainers or whatnot. But hopefully for the sake of his health, he hasn't relapsed and started playing basketball off the field again. But that was just a hilariously disrespectful thing to do, especially to a division rival. I mean, you're so comfortable, so confident that you're going to beat this guy, the center, that you're just practicing your crossover on air before the ball was snapped. And oh, by the way, when the ball was snapped, he did beat the center. He absolutely blew by him as the ball was snapped too. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you go ahead and talk your shit and do what you want so long as you are absolutely dominating. And Myles Garrett is one of the most dominant defensive players in the entire league, maybe the best pass rusher in the league at this point, right up there with the Micah Parsons, T.J. Watts of the world. He's spectacular. And I mean, there are stars all over that defense. I talked about it in the preview leading up to the season. I mean, they got Denzel Ward out there at cornerback. They got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is a football nerd's dream. I think the world of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, not just because he has a very fun name, but because he's an absolute monster on the field. They got a really good defensive line, really good front seven, good secondary. They got a very solid defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz, a guy that's going to blitz the hell out of every quarterback that he faces up against. Maybe these Browns are actually legit this year. I mean, Deshaun Watson, I don't think he played great in this one. Take a look at it. I mean, yeah, 16 of 29, 154 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Did run for a touchdown, though, so, I mean, hey, good for him. Still a nasty man, but that's besides the point. But even outside of Deshaun Watson's job is going to be made easier because they have maybe the best running back in the entire NFL right now, Nick Chubb, who is just impossible to bring down, elusive in his own way, just running through tackles and whatnot. He had 18 carries, 106 yards, didn't run for a touchdown in this one, but was just dominant throughout the course of the game, and he's going to be the focal point of the offense once again, just because that's how it's built. But I mean, new guy in town, Elijah Moore of Piss and Miss fame, now on the Cleveland Browns. He led the team in receiving yards. That's a guy that you were hoping would step up right away. Seems like he's doing that. Still got Amari Cooper, still got David Njoku. Nick Chubb can catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, they got a good group. Also, Donovan Peoples-Jones, old Donnie Peeps, didn't even talk about him. Probably their number one receiver throughout the course of last season because Amari Cooper went down. He's back there as well. So they got, all of a sudden, really deep offense, probably the best offensive line in the entire league. Who is it? Someone went down for him with an ACL injury whose name escapes me right now. I think it's their tackle, I want to say. I forget the guy's name for the life of me, and I gotta look this up, man. I can't just let that go. Can't just let that go at this point. Hold on here, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta look up who the Browns' offensive lineman was who tore their ACL. Browns O-line ACL. There you go. Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin is the one that tore his ACL, one of the best tackles in the entire league. So you hate to see that, but I think you still got Wyatt Teller on the field as well. The rest of the offensive line is still one of the best in all of football. You got a fantastic back there in Nick Chubb, and no, you do not have the 1-2 of Chubb and Hunt to chunt people to death anymore. But Jerome Ford is solid, serviceable. Wasn't awesome in this one, but you still have him. All you really need is Nick Chubb, though, and Jerome Ford just there to kind of take away some reps from Nick Chubb so you don't just absolutely run him through the ground. They got that in the backfield. They got a really solid receiving core. I mean, this Browns team, I've said it before, I'll say it again many times, I imagine. The kitchen is hot in the AFC North. They might be towards the top. It all just kind of depends on how the nasty man plays at quarterback. And, I have no opinions. He still doesn't look great in this offense after coming back from doing the things that he did and being accused of doing. And we'll just keep it moving from there. They win 24-3 though, so that's good for them. Yes, the Vikings ripped my heart out. They lost 20-17 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so you may remember me picking to get the number 1 overall pick. Life is pain, existence is suffering. Baker Mayfield didn't even play well in this one. I mean, no, he did not turn the ball over, but he had 5 yards per attempt, 173 yards. Only got sacked once for 4 yards, which is troubling to say the least. Mike Evans kind of carried this one, though, quite frankly. I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin kind of carried this one. Mike Evans had 66 yards and a touchdown. Chris Godwin had 5 receptions, 51 yards, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was some solid production based on everyone else on the field over there. I mean, no one really even looked good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Antoine Winfield recovered a fumble by not Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, by the way, fumbled the ball twice and lost both fumbles. So, again, life, pain, existence, suffering, you get it. I mean, really, the defense played well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Devin White was playing out of his mind. I don't know who this Christian Izzian is, but he got an interception over there at the goal line, mind you, on a last-minute drive to end the half in the first half for the Minnesota Vikings. So that's just Kirk being Kirk sometimes. But I mean, the frustrating part is that it's not like Kirk Cousins even really had a terrible game. He completed 75% of his passes, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 7.8 yards per attempt. This is the maddening thing about Kirk Cousins and why people just fail to believe you when you say that maybe he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, is he will put up these dazzling numbers, but the main thing is he turned the ball over 3 times. He lost 2 fumbles, threw a terrible interception at the goal line at the end of the half, which if he would have just thrown an incompletion, maybe we go to overtime instead of just having a 20-17 loss when it was all said and done. Lo and behold, doesn't happen though, so here we are. I don't want to get into a whole Kirk Cousins diatribe. I think I've kind of warmed up to him being the starter on this team. The biggest problem, and it was the biggest problem coming into the season, is that we got no running game whatsoever. Alexander Mattison averaged 3.1 yards per carry, got 34 yards on the day. Kirk Cousins was your second leading rusher at 7 yards total. As a team, they ran for 2.4 yards per carry, only ran the ball 17 times in a close game, and call me old-fashioned, but I get that Alexander Mattison was not playing well, but you gotta run more than 17 times. I get that Kevin O'Connell's got a good offense. It was good last season. I really like what I saw from him last season. But only 17 running yards or 17 rushing attempts in a close game does not make a whole lot of sense to me. And I get it. We're a terrible running team this year. I would love to see them go out and sign Kareem Hunt. Morals be damned. That incident with him kicking over a girl in a hotel, that was like, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago at this point. It's water under the bridge, you know what? Go out and sign Kareem Hunt. I would love him to start over literally everyone the Minnesota Vikings have right now. So, yep, go get him. I'm tired of seeing Alexander Mattison on my screen, which, by the way, I didn't see it on my screen because I'm in work hell and I have to work on weekends now because That's just life. That's just life. At the very least, I'm not working late nights, and I can watch the second half of the 4 o'clock games and all of the night games. So that, take that for what it is. That's that's a nice little consolation prize. But it does make me feel a whole lot better when I miss my Vikings play on TV. I digress on that front though. Go sign Kareem Hunt or something like that. I would love to see that. Justin Jefferson had a hell of a first half. I mean, ended up with like 150 yards, like 130 of that was in the first half. Kind of disappeared through no fault of his own in the second half. Jordan Addison had himself a hell of a rookie debut. 4 receptions, 61 yards. Caught a touchdown pass in this one. Also, T.J. Hawkinson had some running back numbers at tight end there. Had 8 receptions, 35 yards for this one, a solid 4.4 yards per reception. He may catch 100 balls and end up with like 800 yards in the season just because of how he is used in this system, with Kirk Cousins basically just being a security blanket when it's all said and done. I mean, Josh Oliver, the blocking tight end, only had 3 receptions, but only had 3 less yards than T.J. Hawkinson, 3 receptions for 32 yards when it was all said and done. Overall, I mean, it's kind of what I expected from the Vikings in this one. I mean, Daniil Hunter looked fantastic. He had a sack, two TFLs, batted a pass as well. He was all over the field. Ivan Pace, that undrafted rookie free agent, I was telling you about that guy. He was awesome in this one. He was second on the team in tackles with 8. Cameron Bynum being the safety, he was number 1 on the team. I mean, they looked good throughout this one. They just turned the ball over too many times. You got to cut down on the turnovers, otherwise you're never going to get anywhere. I don't think they turned the ball over once. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so that's not great. You don't love to see that if you're a Vikings fan, anyways. It just is what it is at this point. You can't dwell on it, I suppose. You just move on to week 2 where we face, the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night. It's gonna be fun. Gonna be awesome. It will be fun. Fun will be had by all. I hate my life. Let's keep it moving. Let us keep it moving here. Already talked about that one. Yes, the Tennessee Titans went to New Orleans and just had themselves a rock fight. They lost it 15-16, but I would anticipate a lot of these sorts of games from Mike Vrabel's squad this year. They don't have a very good offense. Ryan Tannehill looked abjectly terrible in this one, through 3 interceptions. Derrick Henry didn't really have that big time long run that you kind of see him pad up his stats on it later in the fourth quarter. 15 carries, 63 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. Rookie Tyjae Spears had 3 carries for 27 yards. You got to be excited about that. Maybe something that it becomes more of a 1-2 punch instead of just all Derrick Henry this season. Might want to be excited about that one, I suppose. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, Nuke Hopkins looked good in his first game. I mean, 7 receptions, 65 yards, exactly what you would expect from DeAndre Hopkins. Nick Westbrook-Akine was okay, I suppose. Derrick Henry actually had 2 receptions for 56 yards out of the backfield, so maybe didn't have that big run, but ended up with 100 all-purpose yards. Maybe he's not quite over the hill just yet. I hope not. Love to see Derrick Henry at the height of his powers. He's just getting up there in age, so you never know about these sorts of things. Hopefully he's back in full swing. They just couldn't quite find the end zone when it was all said and done. I don't think a lot of that had to do with Ryan Tannehill. I didn't really come out being very impressed with what I saw from Ryan Tannehill in this one, but I don't think Derek Carr looked that much more impressive, I guess. I mean, 23 of 33, 305 yards, 9.2 yards per attempt. So, I mean, right there, not bad. If you're getting 9 yards per attempt, you are absolutely slinging the pill at basically any level of football, but only 1 touchdown, 1 interception, didn't fumble. So, I mean, it was just a classic sort of average Derek Carr day, kind of ho-hum. The big problem was they didn't run the ball effectively at all. Only 2.6 yards per carry as a team. Jamal Williams currently starting, in place of Alvin Kamara while he's serving that 3-game suspension to start the year. He went like 18 carries, 45 yards. He's an absolute sledgehammer when you need him to be, but Maybe not the most dynamic guy against a really vaunted rushing defense like you got with Mike Vrabel, and I think that's kind of the calling card here is a lot of bend but don't break with Mike Vrabel. They're going to stone you at the line on the rushing yards. Maybe you're going to get some passing yards, but when you get in the red zone, they're just going to force you to play uncomfortable pretty much. Yes, they ended up getting that one touchdown, which really ultimately was the difference in the game. Rashid Shaheed got that touchdown. But really, throughout the day, the story was just the Tennessee Titans holding up and bending but not breaking over and over again, except for that one slip up in the third quarter where they gave up the touchdown. Outside of that, I mean, it was just a really good defensive performance from Mike Vrabel's group, and I would expect that over and over again. This is like they don't have a great roster, like I said in the preseason lead up here. But I don't think they're going to be like a terrible team. I don't think they're going to have a terrible record just because of the way Mike Vrabel coaches his team and specifically coaches that defense to always just kind of keep them in games, make it a rock fight every day out there just so you can stay in the game, which is kind of, I think, what they need to do this season. So I don't think the Tennessee Titans are probably going to be a playoff team, but 7-10, 8-9, certainly not out of the question, and I still feel that way after observing this game from afar. Receivers wise for the New Orleans Saints, they might have something here. First off, Michael Thomas, healthy for now. Hopefully it stays that way. It kind of didn't work out that way last season, but we'll see what happens there. He had 5 receptions, 61 yards. Second-year guy Rashid Shaheed, one of the more fun names in all of the NFL this season. I mean, 5 receptions, 89 yards, had that touchdown. Chris Olave looked like everything he was being hyped up to be coming into his second season. 8 receptions, 112 yards. He looks like that legitimate number one guy that you can go to. Juwan Johnson had a couple solid receptions in this one. 3 for 36 when it was all said and done. They got some good pieces in place to maybe go out there and get something done on offense. I think they just kind of faced up against maybe not a juggernaut unit in the Tennessee Titans, but it's just a really well-coached, well-schemed-up defense by Mike Vrabel and company over there. And they got a gutsy win out of it. That's really all you can ask for as a Saints fan. You come out of it with a win. It wasn't pretty, but you got the job done when it was all done and settled. So there you have it right there. Tennessee Titans starting 0-1, but I think they'll end up winning some games that we don't expect them to win throughout the course of this season. With that said, let's get to the next one here. Carolina got beat soundly by the Atlanta Falcons 24-10. Bijan Robinson, his first touchdown in the NFL was an absolute highlight play. He catches a swing pass, makes a couple guys miss, and walks into the end zone. By virtue of making those guys miss, he's going to be an absolute force of nature in this offense. There's a reason they drafted him 8 overall. He was an all-purpose machine. Him and Tyler Algier had roughly similar sort of outputs as far as touches go. I think Bijan Robinson had 16 touches. Tyler Algier had 18 touches. 15 rushes for Algier, 3 catches for him as well. Bijan Robinson had 6 catches in this one, including that touchdown. And as a team, they rushed for 5 yards per carry. Both Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier were above 5 yards per carry in this one. They just looked like their efficient selves in this one. They looked very good. Desmond Ridder, completed 15 of 18 passes. Didn't look fantastic in this one. I'll say that. Wasn't the greatest day of all time for Desmond Ridder, but did not turn the ball over. Had a fumble but recovered it, didn't throw an interception, threw 1 touchdown, and I think with the way that Arthur Smith calls an offense, that's pretty much all he needs to do throughout the year for the Atlanta Falcons to win a bunch of games this year. And I think their defense is good enough this year to kind of keep them in the game. The offense will, I think under Arthur Smith, it has a very high floor, and I think as long as Desmond Ridder just plays average throughout the year, I've said it, I picked them to win this division coming into the year, and I still feel the same way. I think the Atlanta Falcons are just, maybe not the greatest team in the world, but in that division, I think they are going to win and keep it rolling from here going forward. On the other side, though, Bryce Young, boy, it was a rough day. It was a rough day for Bryce Young. He ended up with a robust 3.8 yards per passing attempt in this one. Went 20 of 38, 146 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Had a couple nice runs in this one. Really one nice run for 16 yards in this one. But just did not look great. It looked like he was a rookie out of the gates, which is kind of what you expect. On the plus side, at the very least, I mean, Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders looked solid in this one. They ran 4.8 yards per carry as a team. Ran 70 plays, which you got to be kind of excited about. They ran like I mean, my God. I mean, look at the play count over here for the Atlanta Falcons. They had 44 plays compared to 70 for the Panthers. If you just look at that, I mean, you think the Panthers probably could have dominated this one. So it's not all bad when it's said and done, but I mean, Miles Sanders did fumble the ball. The defense didn't look awesome in this one. You had a couple sacks. Derek Brown looked like a beast in this one, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. I mean, Brian Burns had 2 sacks right out of the gate. So I mean, defense didn't look terrible. Offense was pretty bad when it was all said and done. Maybe the Panthers aren't a playoff team this year, but I don't think they're that bad when it's all said and done. I think they're solidly okay. They're solidly okay. And that's really all you can take away from this. I don't think they're going to win the division, though. I think this is more of just a development year, especially with Bryce Young in there. Maybe see if they make a move to send old Andy Dalton out there to the New York Football Jets. Let me take a quick sip of this ice cold caffeinated beverage. Who doesn't pay me? And until they pay me, no free shout outs. I'll say that. No free shout outs. That's just how we roll in here. So I'm gonna be having anonymous caffeinated beverages till the end of time, pretty much is what I'm saying. Um yeah, I think that's pretty much all I need to say about the Atlanta Falcons. Kyle Pitts, I mean, 22 yards per catch in this one. Didn't have a whole lot of catch production. Only had 2 catches, but made the most of them with 44 yards total. I think he might be in line for a breakout year. Maybe this is finally the year that Kyle Pitts realizes the potential that we all saw coming out of Florida, being just a physical freak at tight end. One thing to note here is that Jonnu Smith did not have a single reception in this one. He was used almost exclusively as a blocker, I would say, and that's kind of the sweet spot. Taking Kyle Pitts out of the blocking a little bit more, splitting him out, using him as a receiver like he's kind of meant to be used as. You got Desmond Ritter at least being serviceable back there throwing the ball. Atlanta Falcons, like I said before, they are looking every bit the division favorite as I expected them to be coming into this season. They probably looked the best in that division coming out of this week 1. Moving over to the AFC South, though, we have got the Jaguars beating the Colts comfortably 31-21. Just a couple notes here because my God, we've got, I mean, already running up on an hour, and we have not even really scratched the surface of this thing. So I might have to hit the warp speed on this. Trevor Lawrence looked fantastic, 24 of 32, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Travis Etienne looked good. Basically, they looked as advertised in this one, and Calvin Ridley, he's going to have himself a monster year, and I think he might be the weapon that puts Trevor Lawrence over the top. He had 8 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown in this one. I mean, Zay Jones looked good. Travis Etienne actually caught 5 balls out of the backfield, which you got to be encouraged about. Evan Ingram looked good. Christian Kirk only had 1 reception, but when everyone else is eating, doesn't necessarily matter. Tank Bigsby did turn the ball over, but he had a touchdown as well. Weren't efficient necessarily on the ground outside of Travis Etienne, but they had a lot of good reps when it was all said and done. The offense looked fantastic in this one. Defense might be leaving a little bit of something to be desired when it's all said and done, but Foysada Aluakin had 13 tackles in this one, absolute tackle machine. Josh Allen, the defensive end, not the quarterback, had 3 sacks in this one. Excuse me, I had to get that sneeze out of there. It was just beckoning to come on out. I mean, overall, I guess not a terrible sort of day for the defense. I mean, Trevon Walker, last year's number 1 overall pick, got a sack in this one. You're hoping he continues that sort of pace throughout the course of the season, but not the greatest day overall. Tyson Campbell did end up getting an interception off of Anthony Richardson in this one, but The offense is really what impresses you in this one. They ended up getting 4 sacks as a team, 6 tackles for loss as a team, defended 5 passes, got 6 QB hits. I mean, they were all over the field. They just ended up giving up 21 points to a Indy offense that I'm not super keen on, quite frankly. But that's kind of the way that I think it's going to go this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Fantastic offense, defense that you just kind of hope they rush the passer and make some plays down the stretch, and that's really what they did. On the Colts side, though, you gotta be encouraged with what you saw from Anthony Richardson. Of the rookie quarterbacks this week, he probably had the best day, and it still wasn't a great day, but it was something where you can be very optimistic going forward. I mean, 24-37, 223 yards, a touchdown through the air, a touchdown on the ground, 1 interception that he threw to Tyson Campbell. The real difference maker, I think, was not Anthony Richardson as far as losing this game. I mean, Deion Jackson lost 2 fumbles. That is an absolute soul crusher, a heartbreaker. I mean, especially in a game where I think you got a touchdown from DeForest Buckner as well on a fumble recovery. I mean, you hate to see that. You just hate to see that it coming down to that guy. But I mean, your number one back pretty much. He only had 14 yards on 13 carries. Those 2 fumbles. It was an abysmal day on the ground outside of Anthony Richardson in this one, and I think that's going to be a theme for the Colts as long as Jonathan Taylor isn't in there. Quite frankly, they don't have a whole lot of talent back there, but with what they got right now, I mean, at the very least, Anthony Richardson looked good. Michael Pittman looks like your number 1 receiver still, so good for you there. 8 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Just a ho-hum day for Michael Pittman Jr., so he's still there. He's still doing well. Josh Downs, the rookie, looked good in this one. Only 3 catches, but flashed, had a 22-yard completion in this one, so the Colts aren't a great team. They aren't a good team even, but offensively, I think you've seen enough to think, okay, Anthony Richardson's going to be put in position to develop, if nothing else, this season. Zaire Franklin was an absolute tackling machine once again in this one. He had 17 tackles in this game, just an absolute freak. Shaquille Leonard had eight tackles for second on the team. DeForest Buckner got a sack in this one, got a couple QB hits, scored that touchdown like I said before. You got some flash, but that secondary not looking overly exciting. I'll say that right now. I mean, Tony Brown did get an interception, but gave up 31 points, and a lot of that coming through the air. Not the greatest day in the world, but I mean, good enough to be serviceable, if nothing else. I mean, they did give up 31 points, so how serviceable are they really? But I digress. I don't know if we actually learned anything from this game outside of the Jaguars might be legit this year. That might be a really fun offense to watch. Might be everything that we thought it would be and more coming into this one. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley. Boy, that might be a treat for everyone to watch throughout the course of the season, but let's keep it moving so we don't run up too much on like a 2-hour episode here. We'll keep this one brief. The San Francisco 49ers are legit. Once again, Brock Purdy looked healthy, and they beat the absolute piss out of the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-7. I mean, the Steelers, they just looked awful throughout the course of the entire game. Kenny Pickett looked bad. Najee Harris, in his few attempts, looked okay, but no one else really flashed. They only ran the ball 10 times throughout the course of the game because they were behind the whole time. Kenny Pickett was the one really toting the rock in this one, not carrying the ball, just tossing it downfield, and that offense looked just pitiful. I mean, Allen Robinson, good for him, 5 receptions, 64 yards, but you lost Deontay Johnson in this one as well with a hamstring injury. He'll be out for probably the next several weeks. Calvin Austin looked okay. George Pickens looked all right, but they got absolutely worked, absolutely manhandled in this one. Defensively, it is worth noting T.J. Watt had 3 sacks. Elandon Roberts had 2 tackles for loss, so it wasn't all bad there. Your best players are still your best players when it's all said and done. The problem is they just ran into an absolute buzzsaw. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers, like I said, Brock Purdy looked like Brock Purdy. Once again, had 2 touchdown passes, no turnovers, 19-29. He was efficient. Christian McCaffrey, The straw that stirs the drink when it's all said and done in this offense, 152 yards on the ground, 6.9 yards per carry. Nice. Had a 65-yard touchdown at one point in this one. He looked dominant as usual. And Brock Purdy, by the way, 3 carries for 20 yards. He can move. He can absolutely move. Don't be fooled by his lack of melanin. He can, in fact, run and tote the rock if you need him to, and be smart with the ball when it's all said and done. I've said when it's all said and done too many times in this episode. I'm going to cut it out. Cut it out. As far as the receivers go, I mean, Brandon Ayuk looked fantastic in this game too. Caught the 2 touchdown passes from Brock Purdy, had 129 yards. Deebo Samuel didn't quite have the rushing output that he usually has, probably just because they were up by so much. Don't want to overuse him early in the season, but 5 receptions for 55 yards. He was looking dynamic, and that's pretty much all they needed, quite frankly, was those 2 at the top. They just ran away with this thing because, I mean, the defense looked as dominant as they ever have. Drake Jackson had 3 sacks. Javon Hargrave had his sack in his first game as a San Francisco 49er, him coming over, obviously, from the Philadelphia Eagles, signing that massive contract in the offseason. Kerry Hyder had a sack as well. They had 5 sacks as a team, 8 tackles for loss, 9 QB hits in this one. They were just bullying, absolutely bullying Kenny Pickett the entire day. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, still there, both of them getting tackles for loss in this one. Talanoa Hufanga coming in as a safety, getting a tackle for loss. I mean, they look every bit as strong as they have over the last several seasons under this new defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks. The San Francisco 49ers, they're the best team in the NFC. Between them and the Cowboys, who we'll talk about here in just a bit, and the Eagles, I suppose, it's really those 3 and then everyone else. And I think the San Francisco 49ers have probably the best roster in all of football right now. It is just an absolute juggernaut buzzsaw that you do not want to face on any given week. I'll tell you that right now. Let's keep it moving, though. The Arizona Cardinals looked feisty in this one, but ended up losing to the Commies 20-16. Sam Howell looked about as average as you can be. I mean, 19 of 31, 202 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Did lose a fumble as well, so he was a 1 touchdown to 2 turnover day. You're going to want to be better than that, but it is what it is. They did win in opening week, and it was, he's a young QB. We'll see how he progresses throughout the course of the season. As I said before in the context of Aaron Rodgers, Jacoby Brissett's just sitting there. So if Sam Howell doesn't work out, Jacoby Brissett can come in and play some serviceable QB. I think the Washington Commanders have a solid team this year. That offensive line is a problem. Howell was sacked 6 times, and I would imagine that's going to be a theme throughout the year. They are not good on the offensive line. It showed in both the running game and the pass protection. They only ran for 3 yards per carry in this one. Brian Robinson was just running into a buzzsaw every time out there. But you got to be, at the very least, optimistic with what you saw from the receivers. I think Curtis Samuel played well, 5 receptions, 54 yards. Logan Thomas got 4 catches, 43 yards. Jahan Dotson looked good. Terry McLaurin nursing a toe injury that I think kind of limits his effectiveness, but he had a couple solid catches in this game, so it wasn't pretty. The Cardinals made it kind of a rock fight throughout the course of this one, but you get the job done. All water under the bridge at this point, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals is the Cardinals. What else do you want me to say? They had 1 shot explosive from Marquise Brown in this one with like a carry for 29 yards. Outside of that, though, not great on the ground. Josh Dobbs had 4.4 yards per passing attempt. Rondale Moore was your leading receiver with 3 receptions for 33 yards. 31 of those 33 yards came on 1 play. Probably a shot. Pew, pew, pew. Explosive shots. That's probably where it came from for Rondale Moore. Obviously, Jonathan Gannon, defensive guy, but I know he dialed that up. You get that. Josh Dobbs actually lost 2 fumbles in this one. You simply can't have that. And yeah, the defense is playing with their hair on fire. Kaiser White in his first game with the Cardinals had himself a good one for 9 tackles, a tackle for loss. Kayvon Wallace had 2 passes defense. I mean, they had some good players, but the Cardinals are just maybe the worst roster in all of football this season. They're not good. The Commanders eke one out. Have to see how they fare in that division this year, but a win is a win. Week 1, a lot of things change, man, from week 1 going forward. Hell, even after the first 3 weeks. I mean, think back to last season. The Chicago Bears started 2-1, and they ended up, as you may remember, with the worst record in the league and holding the number one pick until they traded away to the Carolina Panthers. So let's not take too much stock in these games right now. It is week one. These teams are not finished products, and they might be fooling you with some play here in the early season, which is kind of just maybe above their heads of what they might play throughout the course of this season. But I think I can probably safely say the Cardinals stink, and I'm not really sure about the Washington Commanders, so let's just keep it moving on from here. We got the Las Vegas Raiders eking one out against the Broncos. Good first half for Russell Wilson, just kind of petered out down the stretch. Ended up 27 for 34, 177 yards, a little over 5 yards per passing attempt. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no turnovers on the whole. So, I mean, better than what we saw all of last season for Russell Wilson. So that's really take solace in that. Javonte Williams looked solidly coming back from that ACL injury, 13 carries, 52 yards. Also had Samaje Perine going 5 yards per carry on eight attempts. So you do the quick math, that's 40 yards, 41 yards actually. As a team, wasn't super productive. Ended up with 94 yards on the ground, no touchdowns. Raiders played well defensively in this game. I think they held them mostly in check. Samaje Perine was the leading receiver in this game, as well as the second leading rusher. So that should tell you pretty much what they were doing as far as the offense was concerned in this one. Very conservative throughout the course of this game. Shout out to little Jordan Humphrey, by the way. He's usually a special teams guy. Got a touchdown catch in this one, and he's on the active roster for a second straight week. So good for him coming in here making a name for himself, not just on special teams, because he is a special teams maven. Very good gunner. Love to see him getting some offensive shine. But that's really, outside of that, kind of a meh day on offense overall for the Denver Broncos. And I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, he looked like Jimmy Garoppolo. 20 of 26, 7.7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Didn't fumble. He did fumble the ball. He just didn't lose the fumble. So there is that. Outside of that, I mean, really it was a tough day on the ground, mainly more than anything. They got 2.1 yards per carry as a team, did the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, 2.5 yards per carry, 48 yards on the day. Jimmy Garoppolo ran the ball 9 times for whatever reason. Don't know why they did that. He's not exactly a running quarterback. He's just handsome. He can't run. I don't know what you're talking about here. Maybe he was just scrambling out of the pocket. Who's to say? They don't have a very good offensive line, so that would make sense. I didn't watch this game, though, so I can't say for certain. A lot of the big-time players really all the big-time players on offense were in the receiving corps, quite frankly. Jacoby Myers had himself a hell of a debut as a Las Vegas Raider in 9 receptions, 81 yards. Both of Jimmy Garoppolo's touchdowns in this one, he looked really good. Devontae Adams had 6 receptions for 66 yards. He'll get back into it. He'll have some big games throughout the course of this year, but he's still the exact same player he's been over the course of the last, 5 to 7 years that he's been around, either with the Green Bay Packers or with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now he is who he is. But hey, the Raiders came out here, got a gutsy win. Even with their number one tackler being Nate Hobbs, who I believe is a cornerback. Not necessarily an indicator of great play, but hey, a win is a win. They only gave up 16 points, which is not something you expect from the Las Vegas Raiders. Excuse me. I mean, really only got 2 sacks, one of them being Max Crosby, one of them being Jerry Tillery. So you don't really... I mean, I don't know if you necessarily feel great about it, but you don't feel terrible at the very least. I mean, there's, got 7 tackles for loss as a team, so that's awesome. You'll love to see that when it's all said and done. Overall, a win is a win, and it's a division win, so take solace in that. I'm not sure how good the Raiders are going to be, and I'm not sure how good the Broncos are going to be, but I think they're clearly the second and third teams in the AFC West. You figure out which one's third and which one's fourth, rather, is what I meant to say. But yeah, don't got a whole lot of comments about that. The Raiders is the Raiders, and I don't exactly know what the Denver Broncos are this season. I think they might end up being okay, but not a great start out of the gates. Not a great start out of the gates at all. Maybe the most fun game of the day on Sunday, the Miami Dolphins going to LA to play the Chargers. And this one felt like too obvious of an over to take. This one felt like, okay, they're trying to trap me into something here right now by taking the Miami Dolphins or taking the over on this one. I think it was like 52 going in, 52 and a half. They obliterated that. I mean, 36-34 was the final. The Miami Dolphins end up getting the win in this one on the road, crossing the country, getting a gutsy win. And I mean, Tua Tagovailoa had himself a day. 28 of 45, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and Tyreek Hill had just about half of those. He had 11 receptions for 215 yards, had almost, I think he had more than all of the wide receivers on the Kansas City Chiefs combined in this game. Absolute freak of nature. Jalen Waddle had 4 receptions for 78 yards as well. They didn't run worth a damn, but who cares? They were absolutely high-flying, spectacular on offense. And I mean, it's not like the Chargers were a bunch of slouches. They ran for 233 yards as a team. I mean, Austin Eckler had 117 on 7.3 yards per carry, had a touchdown as well. Joshua Kelly had 5.7 yards per carry, just a shade short of 100 yards on the day. He also had 16 carries for 91 yards, though. I mean, hey, Justin Herbert got in the action a little bit. Only 17 yards on 5 carries, but it's notable if nothing else. He didn't have a great day throwing the ball, though, is the main takeaway from me. I mean, 23 of 33, which is okay. 229 yards, 6.9 yards per attempt. Nice, but not really in the grand scheme of things. 1 touchdown on the day he had 1 through the air and 1 on the ground. So, you know, a little bit of a mixed bag when it's all said and done. Keenan Allen looked good in this one. But it just came down to the end, man, and the Dolphins almost Dolphins it with a missed extra point. The Chargers, though, on the very next possession, Vic Fangio just dialed it up and they sacked Justin Herbert into oblivion. Didn't even matter there. Dolphins got the win 36-34. And if you don't know the name now, yes, they gave up 34 points on the game, but you must remember, keep it in your mind to remember Javon Holland. He is one of the rising stars on defense in this league. He is a fantastic safety, maybe one of the best safeties in the entire league. He had 14 tackles in this one to lead the Miami Dolphins. Had a tackle for loss. He was all over the field. I mean, Jalen Phillips had a half sack in this one, split it with Justin Bethel, which, by the way, another guy. Justin Bethel is a long-time special teams guy who just kind of, made his way under the defense. Good for him over there. But Jalen Phillips, he got a really good pass rusher over there. I don't know where Bradley Chubb is in all of this. He got a tackle for loss, so good for him on that one. But, I mean, yes, they give up 34 points, but you got to like the individual players flashing. You still got Vic Fangio. I think throughout the course of this year, he will prove to be a very, very good defensive coordinator, as he has every single place that he has been thus far in his illustrious career. Hey, shout out J.C. Jackson, though. He got the 1 interception off of Tua, and after last year, you love to see that, especially if you were a Chargers fan. You love to see J.C. Jackson getting in the action after all the injury woes that he had throughout the course of last season. Outside of that, though, I think we're pretty much good on this game. Really fun game, though. Absolutely. I mean, if you were watching this game, you had an absolute dandy of a time there watching it, and it was everything that lived up to the hype. Hopefully, we get more games like this throughout the course of the season for both of these teams. Not just playing against each other, but playing against easy for me to say. Playing against the rest of the league. Let's keep it moving, though. I think we're probably like an hour and 15 into this thing. Yeah, I mean, pretty much like an hour 13. I might cut a little bit out of there in post, but yeah, we're pretty much right on that right now. But yeah, let's keep moving. Eagles beat the Patriots 25-20. Came right down to the end. For some reason, the Eagles decided to go for it on 4th down, a 4th and short. I guess they tried to end the game right there, which, I mean, you had... I guess it wasn't even 4th and short. I think it was like 4th and 5 or something like that. They go for it. They don't make it, but the New England Patriots peter out when it's all said and done, and they lose the game. Philadelphia wins 25-20. Mac Jones, not a bad day overall. I mean, not a great yard per attempt average at 5.9 yards per attempt, but I mean, 35 of 54, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Didn't fumble the ball in this one. He looked good. He looked good throughout this one. Another guy that looked good, Kendrick Bourne, who kind of disappeared in that Matt Patricia, whatever you called their offense last season. Wasn't used a whole lot. And I really like him as a weapon. He came out there and played well. Ramondre Stevenson was getting the ball out of the backfield. He looked okay when he wasn't carrying the rock in his normal duties. They looked terrible running the ball in this game. But I digress on that front. You can take solace if you're a Patriots fan in knowing that, okay, I think it was maybe just Matt Patricia being terrible as an offensive coordinator last year that kind of held back Mac Jones when it was all said and done. But, I mean, credit to the Eagles where it's due. All they really had to do was just make plays. They just made plays over and over again, and it didn't look pretty. Jalen Hurts didn't look good in this one, 22 of 33, 170 yards. One touchdown, fumbled the ball as well, so not the greatest day in the world for Jalen Hurts. Backfield didn't look fantastic. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell was the number one back. He's out this week as well against the Vikings, as well as like Reed Blankenship. I think there's one other guy I'm not thinking of right now Bradbury, not Garrett Bradbury. That is the center for the Vikings. Also, ironically, out for this game. So both the Bradburys on either side of the ball going to be out for that Thursday night game. But I digress. Either way, the corner Bradbury will be out for the Eagles. They made enough plays to get the job done is the main thing, though. I mean, A.J. Brown was his usual self, 7 receptions, 79 yards. Devontae Smith, not a whole lot of big plays, but also had 7 receptions, 47 yards. He got the lone touchdown from Jalen Hurts in this one. And, I mean, the defense played solid. I mean, Reed Blankenship led the team in tackles. He'll be out this coming week, though. I mean, you got a couple sacks, or, really only a couple. I mean, Jalen Carter, his one tackle of the game was a sack. And I would expect more of that throughout the course of his rookie year. He's an absolute beast. But, Josh Sweat and Jordan Davis, another Georgia product, split a sack in this one. You got 10 passes defensed. Which is absolutely really, really solid when it was all said and done. I've said that too many times in this episode. I need to stop saying it. I'm gonna stop saying it, and it's gonna start right now. Outside of that, though, I mean, you made a bunch of good tackles. You really just gutted out a win. Nothing looked spectacular, but you got the win when it was all said and done. The one spectacular play that did happen and was a real difference in this game was Mississippi State product Darius Slay taking a touchdown to the house, taking an interception to the house for a touchdown. That was really the determinant in this game of why the Philadelphia Eagles won. It wasn't the offense this time around. It was the defense making plays for them, and you just simply love to see it. Outside of that, though, we got to keep it moving because there's only so much time left in the day for this one. The Green Bay Packers absolutely beat up on the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields looked terrible. He looked a lot like the Justin Fields at the beginning of last season before they started leaning into the running game. Seems like only a matter of time before they really do that. He was still good on the ground, 9 carries for 59 yards. I think they just got to cut him loose. They just got to say, okay, here for a good time, not a long time. Let's just keep it moving from here. They did not look good throughout the course of this game, though. Justin Fields looked bad. The defense looked, just as bad as it did last season for the Chicago Bears. Hammered the over, though. Absolutely demolished the over, which I love to see from a selfish perspective. But I digress on that front. They were just not good. Like I said before in the lead up to the season, they will be improved. They will still not be very good, and I think that's mostly what you saw in this one throughout the course of it. Darnell Mooney looked okay, but DJ Moore didn't have a great debut with the team after that really good preseason run he had. I think he maybe found something in Roschon Johnson down the stretch of the game. He looked really good in his limited reps. Caught the ball out of the backfield, ran physical, got a touchdown, had the only rushing touchdown for the Bears in this one. So you got to be excited about that. But Jordan Love, he didn't have the greatest completion percentage game, but 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, didn't turn the ball over at all in this one. Just a really solid initial start for Jordan Love. Aaron Jones looked good in this one as well. He had a couple touchdowns, pulled up late with a hammy injury, but 2 touchdowns, really ended up being a workhorse for the team. A.J. Dillon, I mean, bless his heart, he just kept getting pounded in the middle over and over and over again, and he just took it. It is what it is at this point for him. He's just got to keep taking those hits, I suppose. But, I mean, without... They had Romeo Doubs in there, and he got 2 of those 3 touchdowns. But without Christian Watson in there, you got to love what you saw from the team. I mean, hell, if Luke Musgrave didn't just like turn around and start backpedaling, Jordan Love would have gotten a long touchdown pass to Luke Musgrave. So you got to love what you see if you're a Packers fan. You got to kind of, I mean, feel like it's Groundhog Day if you are if you're a Bears fan in this situation, especially with the QB situation, because Justin Fields did not look good in this one. And I mean, yes, TJ Edwards looked good. Tremaine Edmonds looked like the guy you signed in free agency. They looked improved on the defensive front. Yannick Ngakoue got his sack in the first game. You would expect more of that going forward, but they just didn't. They didn't live up to the hype. I mean, I guess if you're a Bears fan, they didn't live up to the hype. Yeah, but like I said in the preseason, I was just letting y'all get it all out of your system because I knew at some point it was going to come crashing back down, and boy did it. Boy, did it. And you know what? The Vikings lost too, but I'm gonna take solace in the fact that the Bears lost as well. So it is what it is, man. It just is what it is, and we'll just keep it moving because we don't got a whole lot of time to burn here. I was hilariously wrong about the LA Rams Seattle Seahawks game. The Rams dominated, absolutely dominated. Matthew Stafford didn't throw a touchdown in this one, but threw for 334 yards, 24 of 38. They had 3 touchdowns on the ground as a team, did the Los Angeles Rams. 2 of them were from Kyron Williams. And Cam Akers, my God, 22 carries for 29 yards. His poor knees and his repaired Achilles must be absolutely killing him. I got some spittle on the monitor there, so we just gotta rub that out of the way. I digress on that front, though. I mean, 3 touchdowns as a team on the ground. Only 2.3 yards per carry, but when you get 3 touchdowns, it kind of makes up for it a little bit. Rams look good in week 1. And I mean, Puka Nacua, remember the name. It's a hilariously fun one. He's a rookie out there. Didn't play much for BYU last season, but he caught 10 balls for 119 yards. Tutu Atwell caught 6 balls for 119 yards as well. It just feels like Sean McVay is going to draw some stuff up, especially in the interdivision games, to make up for lack of talent on that roster. That's kind of, I think, what you saw in this one. Geno Smith, man, did not look good. I think the highlight of this game for him was Aaron Donald rushing in his face and Geno Smith reacting like any rational human would by saying, "Oh my God," and then just basically throwing it at a receiver's feet so he doesn't get absolutely killed. Still probably got absolutely killed, but I feel you, Geno. I probably would have screamed like a little girl if I were in your shoes, so I get it. I absolutely get it. I understand. Outside of that, though, I mean, DK Metcalf looked good, but I mean, not a great day from the passing offense. Basically, Tyler Lockett was invisible in this one. Jackson Smith and Jigba had a couple catches, tied for the team lead with 3, which should tell you just how bad the passing game was for them in this one. But didn't have great yardage numbers when it almost did it. Almost did it. When the game was over, he didn't have great numbers. So you don't love to see that. Also, very much worth noting, both their starting tackles who they drafted last year and they kind of hit the lottery with. Abraham Lucas is on IR now. He's going to miss at least the next 4 games for the Seattle Seahawks. Charles Cross is questionable for this week. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. Lost both of those guys in this game, and without them, boy, that is going to be a tough road to hoe. Might be a tough early season going for the Seattle Seahawks. We'll just have to wait and see how it all works out for him. On the bright side, Bobby Wagner is back, and he looks like the Bobby Wagner of old. He had 18 tackles in the game, 1 tackle for loss. Jordan Brooks looked good with 12 tackles in this game. Newly minted safety for him, Julian Love, had a good game, all things considered. Just ended up, Boye Mafa, a guy that they drafted, I think, last season, he looked okay in this game, had a tackle for loss. Uchenna Nwosu, who they just paid, got 2 tackles for loss. Had a couple solid performances, but at the end of the day, you look up and you gave up 30 points. That's simply not gonna win you a game. But when you lose both offensive tackles on the other side of the ball, what can you really expect? What can you really expect from that? On on the Rams side defensively, I mean, Aaron Donald was Aaron Donald. I mean, he had a half a sack in this one, made Geno Smith shit his pants, so that was fun. Outside of that, I mean, Ernest Jones, the other returning starter from last year, looked like he was one of the only returning starters from last year. He had 3 tackles for loss, led the team in tackles, was an absolute freak on the field. You love to see that there, but I still don't think the Los Angeles Rams are good. I think this roster is absolutely terrible, but when you got Sean McVay as your head coach and you got a seemingly solid quarterback back there with Matthew Stafford, the ceiling is the roof, I suppose. I think they'd probably get worked over by a Dallas or San Francisco, but within the division, they can be frisky throughout the course of this season, so I'll leave that there so we can just keep it on moving. Outside of that, we have got one more game to get to, folks, and that is, oh boy, this was the Sarah McLachlan special of the week. The Dallas Cowboys just ran the New York Giants out of the state of New Jersey, over into the state of New York, they went to the state of New York, said, get the hell out of there, get back to New Jersey. They went back to New Jersey, found there wasn't a home there, and then just kept going on south down to Delaware. That's basically what it ended up being for the New York Giants. The Dallas Cowboys just drove them wherever they wanted to, pretty much, and the defense looked fantastic in this one. They were flying around. They got a blocked field goal for a touchdown in the Giants' opening drive. That was really the only drive where the Giants looked good throughout the course of this game. I mean, Daniel Jones had 3.7 yards per carry through 2 interceptions. Fumbled twice, didn't lose any of them, but he was getting killed the entire game. Had sacked 7 times. Excuse me. Saquon Barkley bottled up for most of this one. He had 51 yards. Daniel Jones was the second leading rusher, had the most carries in the team with 13. Again, running for his life, had a lot of QB sweeps throughout the course of this one. Darren Waller was your leading receiver with 36 yards, which should tell you a lot about the offense for the Giants in this one. Total, the Cowboys gave up 171 yards, just absolute dominance for the Cowboys. And I mean, on the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott didn't look great in this one, 13 of 24, but didn't turn the ball over. That's really all you can ask for from him throughout the course of this game. The running backs did their job. Tony Pollard had 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. Deuce Vaughn didn't feature quite as prominently as some people might have expected, but you got a good mix of backs back there. You had Tony Pollard toting the rock in the lead. A guy named Rico Dowdle, who I've definitely heard of, had 6 carries. Deuce Vaughn had 6 carries. Kevontae Turpin, who is mainly the kick returner, he had a touchdown in this one, also got 3 carries. Dak Prescott even toted the ball once. He had a nice little diversity of the running attack, ended up getting 3 touchdowns on the ground in this one. CeeDee Lamb looked as good as ever with 4 receptions, 77 yards, and they didn't really need much else outside of that because, I mean, the defense was just all over the field. I mean, Marquise Bell got a tackle for loss in this one. Oso Digizua had 2 sacks. Dorrance Armstrong had 2 sacks. Micah Parsons got a sack in what I think will be the opening salvo of a Defensive Player of the Year campaign for him. Chauncey Golston got a sack. They got 7 sacks as a team, 10 tackles for loss, 8 passes defense, 12 QB hits. They got 2 touchdowns as a team in this one on the defensive side of the ball. Or maybe not on the defense. They got 1 on the defensive side of the ball. They got another on a blocked field goal. I think Deron Bland was the one that got it on a blocked field goal. Noah Igbenogany, maybe that was the guy who got it on the blocked field. No, I think that is actually the guy that got it on a blocked field goal. Deron Bland got another one. I mean, they were dominant. I'm saying too many words to just say they were absolutely dominant throughout the course of this one. And yes, Micah McFadden had 11 total tackles for the New York Giants, but you didn't really have a marquee player like really any on the Dallas Cowboys defense throughout this game. And it was just utter dominance, sheer dominance for the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't think the New York Giants are as bad as they put out on tape on Sunday night. But the Dallas Cowboys, boy, they look like an absolute buzzsaw. But we should all keep in mind, they looked like an absolute buzzsaw last season in the beginning. They kind of petered out down the stretch and then lost in the playoffs. So temper our expectations accordingly now, folks. With that said, that is all for last week's games. Let's just quickly go through the games for next week. I'm not going to do a full preview like I did the previous week, but let's just pull up some odds and whatnot. We'll just go uno momento, por favor. I'm going to pull this up real quick and get a quick sip of my caffeinated beverage. Be right back. All right, got it pulled up. Took me a second to figure it out, but we have got it here. And let's just go down the list. Vikings, Eagles. I'm looking at that one, and I am seeing, it's -6.5 for the Eagles. You can get that on FanDuel right now. +6.5 for the Vikings. You can get that on FanDuel as well. Over under, it opened at 51. It is now at 49. 49.5 in some places if you're trying to bet the under. That one might be one I have to add as far as a bet is concerned. I don't bet on my team though, as far as the spread is concerned though. So I'll stay away from that. Might end up moving on that 49 number though. That's a tasty little morsel. We'll come back to that one though. Chiefs, Jaguars. That can't also be on Thursday night, can it? No, that's got to be a typo. That can't be true. I don't know what. Actually, no. I know what I'm looking at. I thought like the time for the Vikings game. The Vikings-Eagles game was right above the Chiefs-Jaguars, so that's what confused me. Yeah, it's a 1 o'clock game. We're on the 1 o'clock games now. Chiefs at Jaguars might be another sneaky overplay. Yes, Chris Jones is back, but Trevor Lawrence looked great last week. Travis Kelce should also be back, so maybe at over 51 might be something to move on. You can get that at BetMGM. I think Caesars as well. A lot of places have got 51 right now if you're trying to move on that. I'll probably stay away from it just because it's a little bit of a high number for an NFL game and you just don't know what the Chris Jones factor or the Travis Kelce factor means. But it's one to keep in mind. It's I think Chiefs favored -3.5. You can get that basically at everywhere you place your bets. Bills are favored by 8.5, you can get that at DraftKings Sportsbook. They're like the only place that has 8.5 right now. So if you're trying to bet on the Bills in this one, go over to DraftKings Sportsbook. They are a full point below everyone else at this point. The Raiders, you can get that at +9.5. You go to like FanDuel or pretty much every place that isn't DraftKings right now. That's a sweet number at DraftKings if you're betting on the Bills. So if you feel confident about that, I don't. But if you do, go ahead and move on that right now. Over-unders at 47. I got no opinions on this one either way as far as the bets are concerned, so we'll just stay away from it. Ravens, Bengals. Ravens are 3.5 point dogs. You can get that 3.5 at pretty much every place except for like points bet pretty much. So yeah, if you feel confident either way, I kind of tend to stay away from interdivisional games and bets on those sorts of things as far as the spread is concerned. So I'll stay away from that. Over under is 46. And I think both these teams, especially in the AFC North, they got solid defenses. So I'll stay away from that one as well. But a solid little interdivisional matchup there. Chargers are visiting the Titans, and they are favored by 3 points. That's a sneaky little line like right there for the Chargers. Definitely, if you like your money, just don't bet on the Chargers spread. That they will always rip your heart out in the most hilarious fashion. They did it last week, mind you. I think they were like, I think they were actually favored in that one, and they ended up losing. So there you go. There you have it right there. Tennessee Titans. The over-under is at 45. I might even look at like the under at 45.5 over at DraftKings right now. I will probably stay away from this one though because I don't got a great feel either way. We'll just keep it moving from here. Seahawks, Lions. Lions are favored. You can get them at -5 at Caesars right now. DraftKings, if you're trying to bet on the Seahawks, you can get them at +5.5. This doesn't feel like a good spot for the Seahawks, though. They're missing both their starting tackles. You're going to maybe get a bounce back from last week, but the Lions could be a letdown spot for the Lions as well. I don't know. Maybe I think Dan Campbell is going to keep them moving in the right direction, but I don't know. You never know. I think I don't know. I don't have a great feel on this one, so I'm staying away from it. I think 5.5 is just, or 5 is just entirely too many points. So with that logic, maybe you bet on the Seahawks, but I don't feel great about the Seahawks either, so I'm staying away from that one. Over-under is 47. You can get that at BetMGM. Caesars, looks like FanDuel as well. I mean, you can get that pretty widely if you're looking at the over. Under, you can get 47 and a half. Get that little half point there if you're looking for the under on DraftKings. I'm not feeling too confident about that one right now, so we'll just keep it moving. Once again, Colts at the Texans. Colts are a -1 point favorite right now. You can get that at FanDuel. Really, most places outside of BetMGM. If you want to get the best odds, best bang for your buck on the Texans, BetMGM has them at +1.5. So go ahead, knock yourself out there if you like. I think I might actually move on this one. I think Colts -1. Yep, add it to the bet slip. We already got Washington -16 in the college ranks. Let's get the Colts -1 in here as well. I like that line. I think the Colts are going to come out here and win this game on the road, get a gutsy win. I think Anthony Richardson has a good one. The running game has a bit of a bounce back performance, and it doesn't look pretty, but I do think they end up winning this game when I almost did it again. But I'm not going to do it. All right, let's keep it moving. Another 1 p.m. game. Packers visiting the Falcons. I don't know how I feel about this one. I'm still not entirely sure what the Packers are this season, and I like the Falcons. The Falcons are a +1.5, or just a +1 dog in this one. You can get them at +1.5 if you go to FanDuel Sportsbook. But I don't know. Maybe the Packers come out there and light it up. I'm just not sure. I'm certainly not taking the over/under at 40.5. So I think probably stay away from this one. Almost did it again. Almost said it again, but I didn't, folks. That's discipline. That's discipline right there. The Bears are traveling to the Buccaneers. Buccaneers currently favored by 2.5. And, I mean, it is the Bears, so that could be a good line, but it's also Baker Mayfield. I don't trust Baker Mayfield at all. Yes, he beat my team last week, but we also kind of beat ourselves. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. Bears aren't good, though, so I'll probably stay away from that one. 40.5 is the over-under. If it wasn't Baker Mayfield, I might take that. But I am staying away. You tempted me. Maybe I'll take that up with my own hard-earned money, but I'm not going to put someone else's hard-earned money on the line with that bet. So we'll stay away from that. Keep it moving here. Giants at the Cardinals. They're favored by 5.5, and you can get that in most places. FanDuel, it's moved to 6, but Caesars, BetMGM, DraftKings, you can get 5.5 at all of those outlets if you want. If you want 6 for the Cardinals, you can get that at FanDuel, PointsBet. There's probably others out there, but I just haven't quite scrolled that far to see where they're at. I don't have a feel on this game. I don't know how good the Giants are. I know the Cardinals are bad, but Cardinals might make it a dogfight, and I don't know about that one. Over under 39.5. I might even lean the under on this one, but I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it as part of the bet slip this week. 49ers Rams -8 currently in favor of the Niners versus the Rams in this one. You can get that -8 at Caesars, FanDuel, PointsBet. Hell, you can actually get a -7.5 at DraftKings right now. That's really the best one you can go to at this point if you want to bet on the 49ers. That's just too big of a spread for a divisional game. And I could very easily see the 49ers coming out here and just absolutely mopping the floor with the Rams. But weird shit happens in divisional games, so I'm staying away. Over/under is 45. 44.5, you can get that little hook there at BetMGM. Also can get that at Caesars as well. I'm not betting the over. I'm at 45. Actually, come to think of it, I'm adding under 45. You can get that at FanDuel. I'm adding under 45 to my bet slip right now for this Niners-Rams game, just because I think the Niners are going to choke the life out of them on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think the Rams are going to be doing very much offensively in this game, and I think by virtue of that, they will hit that 45-point under in this one just by being as dominant as you can possibly be on the defensive side of the ball. So we have got what was it? what was it I just put on? Oh, yeah, Colts -1. We got the 49ers Rams under 45. And we got Washington -16. Let's see what else we might have in here. Commanders +3.5 versus the Broncos, who are -3.5. That's probably the way I should have framed it, but too late now. I don't have a great feel on this one. I don't know what either of these teams are, quite frankly. The over-under's at 39 now. Bet that if you want. I'm staying away, though. Jets are traveling to the Cowboys. Some places the Cowboys are favored by 9.5. If you want the best line on the Cowboys, it's at -8 right now on PointsBet, and that's the lowest you're going to get by an entire point at the very least. I mean, Caesars is the next closest at -9 right now. So if you're wanting to bet the Cowboys, go right ahead. It's tempting just because of the whole QB situation with the Jets, but I don't know. I'm staying away from this one because, once again, weird shit happens in divisional games. If you want to bet the Jets, though, FanDuel Sportsbook and a lot of other books have them at +9.5. Could be a tasty little morsel if you really believe in that defense, which they look good. They look good in week one. I will give them that. Over-under is 38.5, or if you're going the under 38.5, you can get that at FanDuel. If you're going with the over at 38, one, you're a sicko, but I get it. Well, you're more of a sicko if you bet the over or bet the under, quite frankly. But we'll just keep it moving from there. You can get that at PointsBet. I think you get that at Caesars as well. Yeah, so yeah, bet it if you want. I'm staying away from it. Dolphins, Patriots. Dolphins are favored -3 on the road versus the Patriots, and I am staying away from the actual line itself, from the spread, if you will. But what I am gonna do is just based on, well, no, I'm not buying into the hype. I'm not buying into the hype just yet. 46.5 is the over. I came just an inch away from taking it, and I might put my own hard-earned money on that, but I'm not putting y'all's on it just because the Patriots have a really good defense. The Dolphins could come out and play like gangbusters on the defensive side as well. I could very easily see this hitting the under at 47 that you can get on DraftKings right now. So I'm staying away. I'm staying away. Poison. I'm staying away from that one for the time being, at least on the public airwaves. And for the Sunday night game, we got the Saints versus Panthers. Sickos. Whoever scheduled this one, absolute sicko. This very, very much could be a rock fight. Absolutely could be a rock fight. Saints are favored by 3 on the road in this one. It is a divisional game, so once again, I'm staying away from it. Not the least because I don't know what either of these teams are, quite frankly. I'm not sure how good the Saints are, and I really don't think the Panthers are that great. But again, in the division, weird stuff happens. Over-under is at 39.5 in a lot of places. It's either 39.5 or 40. You can get 40 on the under at BetMGM. Looks like BetMGM, DraftKings. Outside of that, those look like your best options there for the under bet if you're going with that one. I would probably stay away from that. I got no bets in this game whatsoever. It's just, I think it's going to be a rock fight. I just don't know what the total ends up being. And Monday night we got Browns versus Steelers, and I'm not sure the Browns are going to be as dominant as they were in Week 1 versus the Bengals, but I think the Steelers don't necessarily have as good of an offense as the Bengals do, so it could end up being that way. It could end up being that the Browns just come out here and dominate the Steelers as well, but the real play, if there's any play in this game, should be the under. I'm not making a play on the under just because DraftKings has got the best one at 39, and they are the only one that is set the over-under at 39. Pretty much everywhere else is at 38.5. So if you want to take the over, go right ahead. Just a general rule of thumb, I don't take overs in the AFC North because that is just, it's a defensive division through and through. Even if they got great offenses, the defenses always seem to shine through in divisional games. And hell, you saw it last week. I mean, Browns Bengals was 24-3, 27 total points scored in that game. Hit the under by a mile when it was all said and done. So, yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much what I'm feeling about that one. I don't have a great feel either way. So, well, actually, hold on. I just totally butchered that. The Dolphins Patriots are on Sunday night. The Saints Panthers are on Monday night, and the Browns Steelers are also on Monday night. We got 2 Monday night games this week, so I just absolutely butchered that. I apologize. At least I rectified my mistakes before I put it out there, unlike last week. But to sum it up, we went 1-3 last week. We're trying to go 4-0 this week. My bet slip is the Washington Huskies at -16. We have got the over. No. We got the Colts at -1. We have got over. Let me find it real quick. Real quick. I think I passed it. Think I did. I definitely did. I definitely did. We got it over somewhere in there. And I'll tell you what, it's a good bet. Tell you what, it's a good bet. You should take it. You should take it right now. Actually, no, we got the under in 49ers Rams. Outside of that, I thought we had an over somewhere in there. I'll have to go back and look and see if I can find it again. But what do we got? We got just to recap, we got Washington Huskies -16 in the college ranks. We have got the Colts at -1. We have got the under of the 49ers and Rams game. I swear to God, I feel like there was an over in there somewhere that I am just forgetting about, but I'm having a senior citizen moment, so we're just gonna keep it moving. I don't think I had anything else outside of that. So yeah, but you know what? I think we are gonna add the over of the Vikings-Eagles game at 49. I think 49, you can get that at BetMGM and Caesars. We'll take that as well. So make it a foursome. One more time just to recap. We've got the Washington Huskies -16. The Colts at -1. The Rams 49ers under at 45. I think it is 45, not 45 and a half. And we've got the over in the Vikings Eagles at 49. There you go. Happy betting, everyone. Bet the beer money, not the rent money. You get it. I've already talked too long, so let's cut this thing off now. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed, subscribe, leave a like, leave a subscription. Do what you want, rate, share, do all the things that help me grow this thing and get it out to more of the people. I thank you very much for doing that. If you want to contact the show, either shoot me an email at unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com or go over to my Twitter at Caleb Verzak, and you can just shoot me a DM there if you want to shout out your opinions. I may or may not read them. I may or may not bring them to the show. I get so little engagement now, though, you can almost be guaranteed that if you send an opinion about the show, I'll probably just share it on here. So, I mean, there's your little incentive to go out there and get some interaction with me. Outside of that, doing this twice a week during the football season. College football on Tuesdays, NFL on Thursdays. And we're just going to keep it like that for the time being until I feel like switching it back again. I think we've switched it twice at this point. Could happen a third time. Who's to say? But with that said, thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about. And hand up, I don't have a fun fact today. I'm sorry, folks. I mean, maybe my fun fact is that, I don't even really have one off the top of my head. I'm sorry, folks. I'm slacking. I'm not used to having these 2 episodes a week, man. I really ran out of fun facts quick on that one. Yeah. Sorry, folks. I'm a failure. You have a good one. Enjoy this week of NFL games. Enjoy the week of college games. It's going to be awesome. Ride with me if you are to ride with me. And accept the losses as they come, because there will be losses, but we will have wins as well. I'm going to stop talking now, though, because we've gone very long in this one. So I will see y'all on Tuesday of next week. See ya.